CEO's daughter vanished at prom in Miami, 1999. 6 years afterward, janitor finds this in school. Derek Castellanos stood in the hallway of Coral Reef High School, staring at the janitor who had called him. Miguel Santos held a dusty jewelry box in his weathered hands, his face pale with recognition. "I discovered this behind the boiler chamber wall," Miguel stated. "There was construction work, and when they tore down the old wall, this fell out. I recognized the name engraved on it immediately." Derek took the silver jewelry box. The inscription read, "Isabella, Sweet 16, Love, Papa." His sister's jewelry box, the one she had taken to prom 6 years ago, the one that vanished with her on May 15th, 1999. "Where exactly did you find this?" Derek asked, his voice steady despite the racing of his heart. Miguel led him down the corridor toward the basement behind the old boiler chamber. "They're renovating the whole basement level for the new computer lab. The construction crew discovered a false wall. This was hidden inside it, along with some other items." Businessman's twins vanished shopping in Chicago, 1998. Years afterward, guard finds this security guard, Tommy Rodriguez, kicked the loose brick near the basement storage region of Millennium Mall. Years working night shifts at Chicago's sprawling shopping complex had taught him to notice every detail. The brick shouldn't be loose. He knelt down and pried it free with his flashlight. Behind the brick, wrapped in plastic, lay a leather wallet and a silver bracelet. Rodriguez opened the wallet. Driver's license, Laura Marie Thornton, born March 15, 1976, aged 22, when issued in 1998. The photograph showed a young woman with dark hair and bright eyes. A second ID belonged to her twin brother, Joshua Ethan Thornton, same birth date. Rodriguez remembered the incident. The Thornton twins had vanished on December 12, 1998 during Christmas shopping. Massive investigation, media coverage, reward money. Their father, real estate mogul William Thornton, had spent millions looking for them. The incident went cold after 6 months. Rodriguez called Chicago PD from his radio. Within 30 minutes, Detective Emily Chen arrived with forensics team. She examined the wallet and bracelet under portable lights. "These belong to the Thornton twins," Chen stated. "Laura's wallet, Joshua's bracelet with his initials. Why are they hidden here?" Rodriguez pointed to the storage region. This section was renovated in 2001. New flooring, walls, everything. If someone hid these items before renovation, they'd be sealed behind the new construction. Chen photographed everything. The leather wallet showed minimal water damage despite 7 years. The plastic wrapping had protected both items. Inside Laura's wallet were credit cards, $43 cash, and a receipt from Radio Shack dated December 12, 1998, 3:47 p.m. "They were here that afternoon," Chen stated. "This receipt proves it." Rodriguez studied the timestamp. "My shift starts at 6 p.m. Day security would have been here. Frank Morrison was head of security back then." Chen made notes. "Morrison still work here. Retired in 2003. Lives in Neepville now. Nice guy. Worked here 15 years." Chen sealed the proof. The discovery contradicted the official theory that the twins had left the mall and vanished elsewhere. These personal items suggested something happened inside the building. At 2 a.m., Chen drove to Wetka to notify William Thornton. The businessman's mansion sat behind iron gates on Lake Michigan. Chen pressed the intercom. "Mr. Thornton, Detective Chen, Chicago PD. We discovered items belonging to your kids." The gates opened immediately. Thornton met her at the front door wearing a bathrobe. At 58, he looked older than his years. Gray hair, deep lines around his eyes from 7 years of searching. "What did you find?" Thornton asked. Chen showed him photos of the wallet and bracelet. Thornton's hands shook as he examined them. "These are definitely theirs. Laura never went anywhere without that wallet. Joshua wore that bracelet every day since high school. Where were they? hidden behind a loose brick in Millennium Mall's basement. A security guard discovered them tonight. Thornton sat heavily in his leather chair. They were in the mall all along. The proof suggests they never left the building on December 12th. The original investigation focused on the parking lot and surrounding areas after witnesses stated they saw the twins leave through the north exit. Those witnesses were wrong, Thornton stated. My kids didn't leave that mall voluntarily. Chen opened her notebook. Tell me about that day again. Thornton stared at household photos on his desk. Laura and Joshua drove to Millennium Mall around 2 p.m., Christmas shopping for their mother and sister. They were supposed to meet friends for dinner at 7:40 p.m., never showed up. Their car discovered in the mall parking lot the next morning, keys missing, but no signs of struggle. Mall security stated cameras showed them entering at 2:15 p.m., but not leaving. Chen reviewed her notes from the original incident file. The investigation concluded they left through an exit not covered by cameras. I never believed that. Thornton stated, my kids were responsible. They would have called if plans changed. Someone at that mall knows what happened. Chen promised to reopen the investigation. The discovery of hidden personal items transformed a missing persons incident into a potential homicide. Someone had deliberately concealed proof for 7 years. At dawn, Chen returned to Millennium Mall. She studied the basement storage region, where Rodriguez discovered the items. The renovation in 2001 had covered this section with new drywall and flooring. Anyone hiding proof here would have known about the upcoming construction. Rodriguez arrived for his morning briefing. Detective, I've been thinking. Frank Morrison supervised that 2001 renovation. He would have known which areas were being sealed up. Chen called Morrison's home number. A woman answered, Mrs. Morrison, Detective Chen, Chicago PD. Is your husband available? Frank's at his doctor's appointment. Is everything all right? We discovered some proof related to an old incident at Millennium Mall. I'd like to speak with him about his time as security supervisor. That mall job nearly killed him. Stress, you know. He never talks about it anymore. What kind of proof? Chen kept details vague, items belonging to missing persons. Your husband might remember the incident. The Thornton twins. Frank took that incident very personally, blamed himself for not protecting them. He'll be home around noon. Chen spent the morning reviewing the 1998 incident files. Witness statements placed the twins at various mall locations between 2:15 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. The last confirmed sighting was Laura buying coffee at Starbucks around 5:15 p.m. Joshua was seen browsing electronics at Best Buy around the same time. The original investigation interviewed Morrison extensively. His statements were consistent and helpful. He coordinated investigation efforts, provided security footage, and worked overtime during the initial weeks. Nothing suspicious in his background or behavior. But now Chen had proof, proving the twins never left the mall. Someone with inside knowledge had hidden their personal items in a location scheduled for renovation. The timing suggested premeditation and detailed planning. Chen's phone rang, Rodriguez calling from the mall. Detective, I discovered something else. Remember that storage region? I went back with better lighting. There's a section of newer concrete flooring, maybe 3FTX 6FT, different color than the rest. Chen felt her pulse quicken. Don't let anyone near that region. I'm sending forensics. The hidden wallet and bracelet were just the beginning. After 7 years, the Thornton twins incident was about to reveal its darkest secrets. Detective Chen arrived at Millennium Mall with a full forensics team and ground-penetrating radar equipment. The basement storage region was cordoned off as a potential crime scene. Mall manager Ethan Kim paced nervously outside the yellow tape. This is incredibly disruptive, Kim stated. We have holiday shoppers, Delivery's scheduled. How long will this take? As long as necessary, Chen replied. We're investigating a potential double homicide. The radar technician, Maria Santos, calibrated her equipment over the suspicious concrete section. The display showed a rectangular anomaly approximately 6 ft underground. There's definitely something down there, Santos stated. Metal objects, possibly organic material. The concrete above looks different from surrounding areas. Chen contacted the Cook County Coroner's Office for excavation specialists. Within 2 hours, Dr. Elizabeth Harper arrived with her team. Harper was Chicago's lead forensic pathologist, experienced in cold cases and concealed remains. Based on the radar, we're looking at a deliberate burial site, Harper stated. The concrete was poured specifically to hide whatever's underneath. Kim wrung his hands. This is impossible. That renovation happened 4 years ago. We had city inspectors, contractors, everything was legitimate. Chen reviewed the 2001 construction permits. Morrison Construction Company had supervised the basement renovation. The owner, Robert Morrison, was Frank Morrison's younger brother. Interesting household connection, Chen noted. Frank Morrison was head of security. His brother got the renovation contract. While forensics prepared excavation equipment, Chen drove to Neepville to interview Frank Morrison. His residence was a modest split level in a silent subdivision. Morrison answered the door looking nervous. Detective Chen, my wife stated. You called about the mall. Morrison was 61, gay-haired, wearing a Chicago Bears sweatshirt. His hands shook slightly as he invited her inside. We discovered proof related to the Thornton twins, Chen stated. Their personal items were hidden in the basement storage region. Morrison's face went pale. Hidden? What do you mean? Behind a loose brick wrapped in plastic. Someone concealed them deliberately. Morrison sat down heavily. I don't understand. We searched every inch of that mall in 1998. If their belongings were there, we would have discovered them. Chen studied Morrison's reaction. He seemed genuinely shocked, but also frightened. Tell me about the 2001 renovation, Chen stated. Standard upgrade, new flooring, better lighting, security improvements. My brother Robert's company did the work. Who had access to the construction areas? Morrison hesitated. Construction crews, mall management, security staff, maybe a dozen people total. Did anything unusual happen during construction? Not that I remember. Everything went smoothly. Chen pressed further. Mr. Morrison, we're excavating that basement region today. If there's anything you need to tell me, now would be the time. Morrison stood up abruptly. I think I need a lawyer. You're not under arrest. I'm just asking questions. I worked at that mall for 15 years. I tried to keep everyone safe. When those kids vanished, it destroyed me. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I had to retire early because of the stress. Chen sensed Morrison was hiding something. What really happened? On December 12, 1998, Morrison walked to his window, staring at his backyard. I've replayed that day 1,000 times. Every decision, every security check. I failed those kids. How did you fail them? I should have been watching closer. Should have had more patrols. Should have checked the loading dock areas more frequently. Chen picked up on the reference. Loading dock areas. Why specifically there? Morrison turned around. Those areas weren't covered by cameras. Blind spots in our security system. If someone wanted to move something unseen, that's where they'd do it. Move what unseen? Morrison's wife entered the chamber with coffee. She looked at her husband with concern. Frank? You look terrible. What's this about? They discovered Laura and Joshua's belongings at the mall, Morrison stated quietly. Mrs. Morrison gasped. After all these years, where were they? Chen watched the couple's interaction. Morrison seemed to be communicating something to his wife through eye contact. Mrs. Morrison, did your husband ever discuss the Thornton incident at home? He was obsessed with it, barely slept for months. He blamed himself, even though everyone stated he did everything possible. Did he mention any suspects or theories? Morrison interrupted. Detective, I need to call my lawyer before we continue. Chen left her card. Call me when you're ready to talk. Driving back to the mall, Chen called William Thornton with an update. The businessman was devastated to learn excavation was beginning. Are you saying my kids are buried there? Thornton asked. We don't know yet. The radar shows something underground, but we won't know what until we excavate. I'm coming down there, Mr. Thornton. This could take hours, or even days. It might be better if, Detective, I've been searching for my kids for 7 years. I'm not staying home now. At the mall, the excavation team had removed the concrete layer. Underneath was compacted dirt and construction debris. Dr. Harper supervised his workers, carefully dug by hand, sifting every shovel full of earth. At 4:00 p.m., they discovered the first remains. Harper called Chen over to the excavation site. We have human bones, definitely more than one individual. Chen felt sick. After 7 years of hope, the Thornton household was about to face the worst news possible. How long before we know for certain? Preliminary identification within 24 hours. Full forensic analysis will take weeks. William Thornton arrived as they were expanding the excavation site. Chen tried to prepare him for what they might find. Mr. Thornton, we've discovered human remains. We can't confirm identity yet, but given the location and proof. Thornton gripped her arm. Are they both there? It appears so. I'm very sorry. Thornton broke down. Years of anguish finally released. His kids hadn't run away or been kidnapped by strangers. They had died in that mall and been buried like discarded trash. Chen's phone buzzed with a text message from Frank Morrison. I need to tell you everything. Can you come back tonight? The incident was about to crack wide open. Morrison knew more than he had admitted, and now he was ready to talk. The excavation continued under floodlights as evening approached. Mall shoppers were diverted to other entrances, while forensics teams worked. By midnight, they had recovered substantial skeletal remains and personal effects, including jewelry, clothing fragments, and shoes. Dr. Harper made preliminary observations. 2 individuals, male and female, approximate age early 20s, based on clothing and jewelry. These remains are consistent with disappearance date of December 1998. Chen called Morrison's number. He answered on the first ring. Detective Chen, I've been waiting for your call. Are you ready to tell me what really happened? Yes, but not over the phone. Can you come here now? Chen grabbed her partner, Detective Jim Walsh, and drove to Neepville. It was time to learn the truth about what happened to Laura and Joshua Thornton 7 years ago. Frank Morrison met Chen and Walsh at his front door at 1 a.m. His wife was upstairs sleeping. Morrison led them to his basement office, a cluttered chamber filled with security manuals and old mall photographs. I need to tell you about Vincent Koff, Morrison stated without preamble. Chen opened her notebook. Who is Vincent Koff? He was assistant mall manager in 1998. OF supervised evening operations, handled vendor relationships, managed loading dock schedules. He was also stealing from mall tenants. Walsh leaned forward. How much stealing? Hundreds of thousands over several years. Koslov had keys to every store. He would enter after hours, take cash from registers, steal merchandise, manipulate inventory reports. Very sophisticated operation. Chen made notes. How do you know this? Morrison pulled out a thick folder. I documented everything. Security camera footage, financial discrepancies, witness statements. I was building an incident against him. Why didn't you report it? Morrison's voice dropped. I tried. Mall ownership didn't want scandal. Kloof was the nephew of one of the investment partners. They informed me to handle it quietly. Walsh examined the folder contents. This is extensive documentation. You have him dead to rights. By December 1998, I was ready to contact FBI. Corporate fraud, interstate commerce violations, racketeering charges. Koss was looking at serious federal prison time. Chen connected the timeline. The twins vanished December 12th. What happened that day? Morrison rubbed his temples. Laura and Joshua were in Radio Shack around 3:30 p.m. The store was being robbed by two men working with Koss. The twins walked in during the robbery. They witnessed the crime. Worse, Joshua recognized one of the robbers. Tommy Benedetto, a guy from their high school. Joshua called out his name. Walsh shook his head. Wrong place, wrong time, Morrison continued. Benedetto panicked. He grabbed both twins, forced them into the service corridor. I didn't know any of this was happening. The Radio Shack manager was too scared to report the robbery immediately. Chen reviewed her notes. How did you find out? Kossoff came to my office around 6:00 p.m., stated there had been an incident. Some customers got confused and wandered into restricted areas. He needed my assist resolving the situation quietly. You believed him at first? Yes. Kloof was smooth, convincing. He stated the twins were just confused about mall layout, that he'd already helped them find their car and leave. Morrison stood up and paced, but I checked the security cameras. The twins never appeared on any exit footage after 5:30 p.m. They were still in the building. Walsh asked, "What did you do?" I confronted Kosser. He broke down and informed me everything. The robbery gone wrong, the twins witnessing it, Benedetto forcing them into the service areas. Chen felt the incident pieces falling into place. Where were the twins then? Morrison's voice became barely audible. Klov stated they were already dead. Benedetto had killed them to prevent identification. Bodies were in the loading dock storage chamber. Show me everything you know about what happened next. Morrison opened another folder containing building blueprints and construction schedules. Kloof had planned for this possibility. He knew about the 2001 renovation, knew that basement region would be sealed. He had keys, access codes, everything needed to hide proof. Walsh studied the blueprints. Your brother's construction company did the renovation. Robert knew nothing about this. Koff used my name to get access to construction schedules. He made Robert believe I was coordinating security during renovation. Chen pressed Morrison. Why didn't you stop him? Why didn't you call authorities? Morrison broke down completely. He threatened my household. Klov showed me photos of my wife, my daughter, stated they would disappear just like the twins if I stated anything. So you helped him cover up a double homicide. I didn't assist. I didn't stop him. Koff handled everything, buried the bodies, poured concrete, made it look like routine construction. Walsh was disgusted. 2 innocent kids died, and you stated nothing for 7 years. Morrison sobbed. I've lived with this guilt every day, every Christmas, every time I see their father on the news, still searching. I wanted to tell, but I was terrified. Chen reviewed Morrison's documentation. What happened to Koff and Benedetto? Klov vanished in early 1999, took about $2 million from various schemes, and vanished. Penidto died in a car accident 6 months afterward. Convenient accident, Morrison nodded. Cause V tying up loose ends. Chen studied the construction timeline. The renovation began January 2001. The twins were buried in December 1998. Where were the bodies for 2 years? Morrison pulled out another set of papers. Industrial freezer in the loading dock region. COSV had access, kept them frozen until construction began. Walsh stood up abruptly. Jesus Christ, you let that maniac keep those kids in a freezer for 2 years. I was scared. Kloof was dangerous, connected to organized crime figures. He would have killed my entire household. Chen needed more details. Walk me through exactly how the burial happened, Morrison referred to his notes. January 15th, 2001. Sunday night, mall closed. Clav brought the bodies from the freezer to the basement construction region, dug graves by hand, placed remains covered with dirt and construction debris. Who poured the concrete? Clav did it himself the next morning. Informed my brother's crew that I had requested special security flooring for sensitive storage areas. Walsh examined the construction permits. Your brother signed off on unauthorized concrete work. Robert trusted me. Koff was very convincing. Made it seem like routine security upgrade. Chen closed her notebook. Mr. Morrison, you're going to need that lawyer now. Morrison looked relieved despite facing criminal charges. I know, but I can't live with this secret anymore. Those kids deserved better. Chen contacted the district attorney's office about Morrison's confession. She also put out alerts for Vincent Koff, though he had been missing for over 6 years. At dawn, Chen returned to Millennium Mall. Forensics had recovered both complete skeletons, along with remnants of clothing and personal effects. Dr. Harper was preparing remains for transport to the coroner's office. Cause of demise? Chen asked. Preliminary examination shows blunt force trauma to both skulls. Looks like they were beaten to demise. Chen called William Thornton with the devastating news. His kids had been murdered by criminals and hidden for 7 years. The household's worst fears were confirmed, Mr. Thornton. We have Frank Morrison's full confession and documentation of the crime. We know who killed Laura and Joshua. Thornton was silent for a long moment. Are the killers still alive? One died in 1999. We're searching for the other, Vincent Koff. He's been missing since early 1999. Find him, detective. I want justice for my kids. Chen promised to pursue every lead. Morrison's confession had solved the mystery of what happened to the twins, but Vincent Clav was still out there somewhere. The incident was far from over. Detective Chen spent Tuesday morning analyzing Vincent Clav's background. Born in 1965 in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn to Russian immigrant parents, moved to Chicago in 1995, hired as assistant mall manager 6 months afterward. No prior criminal record, but extensive connections to Eastern European organized crime families. Chen's partner, Walsh, returned from interviewing former mall employees. Nobody liked Koff, called him arrogant, demanding. Several people mentioned he had expensive tastes, drove luxury cars, wore custom suits. Lifestyle beyond his salary, way beyond. Assistant managers made $40,000 annually. Kloof was spending twice that on clothes alone. Chen reviewed Klav's employment file. His uncle, Dmitry Vulov, was part of the investment group that owned Millennium Mall. Volkov also owned restaurants, construction companies, and import businesses throughout Chicago's Russian community. Household connections explain how Klav got away with theft for so long. Chen stated his uncle was protecting him. Walsh had more information. I contacted FBI Organized Crime Unit. They've been watching the Vulov household since 1996. Money laundering, racketeering, suspected connections to Russian mob operations. Chen called FBI agent Maria Santos, who specialized in Eastern European crime families. Kloof vanished right before we were going to arrest him, Santos stated. We had been building an incident against the entire Volkov organization. When Koff vanished, it damaged our investigation. Any idea where he went? Probably back to Russia or one of the former Soviet states. These guys have networks, safe houses, new identities. Very hard to track once they decide to run. Chen requested all FBI files on Koff and the Vulov household. She also contacted Interpol to investigate international databases for any trace of Vincent Koff since 1999. At the coroner's office, Dr. Harper had completed preliminary autopsy on the Thornton twins. The news was worse than Chen expected. Both victims suffered extensive trauma before demise, Harper stated. Multiple skull fractures, broken ribs, defensive wounds on hands and arms. They fought hard before they died. Chen reviewed the autopsy photos. How long would this beating have taken? Based on injury patterns, at least 20 to 30 minutes. This wasn't a quick killing. Someone took time to torture these kids. Could one person have inflicted all this damage? Harper shook her head. The angles and force patterns suggest multiple attackers. At least 2 people, possibly 3. Chen called Morrison for clarification. You stated Benedetto killed the twins. Was anyone else involved? Morrison's voice was shaky. Koff mentioned other people, Russians who worked for his uncle. I think they helped with the torture. Torture? You stated it was just a robbery gone wrong. Koff lied about a lot of things. The twins weren't killed immediately. They were held for hours while Koff decided what to do. Chen felt sick. Where were they held? Storage chamber in the loading dock region. Soundproof. Isolated. Koff used it for his illegal activities. Chen hung up and called William Thornton. The household deserved to know the truth about their kids' final hours. Mr. Thornton, the autopsy shows Laura and Joshua were held and tortured before they died. I'm very sorry. Thornton was silent for several minutes. When he spoke, his voice was cold with rage. Detective, I want you to understand something. I will spend every penny I have and every day I have left hunting, down everyone responsible for this. If the law can't get them, I will. Chen tried to calm him. Mr. Thornton, let us handle this investigation. Vigilante justice won't bring your kids back. My kids suffered for hours while these animals tortured them. The law had 7 years to find the truth. I'm not waiting any longer. That afternoon, Chen received a call from Brighton Beach Precinct in New York. Detective Tony Russo had information about the Volkov household. We've been tracking Dmitry Vulov's activities since his nephew vanished. Russo stated, money transfers to Russian banks, property purchases in Moscow, communications with known criminals. Any sign of Vincent Klov? Nothing direct, but Vulov has been sending large amounts of money to someone in St. Petersburg, could be supporting his nephew. Chen requested copies of all financial records. If Kosov was alive and living in Russia, finding him would require international cooperation. She also contacted the State Department about extradition treaties with Russia. The answer was discouraging. Russia doesn't extradite its citizens for crimes committed abroad. The State Department lawyer explained, if Koff obtained Russian citizenship, he's essentially untouchable. Chen refused to give up. She spent the evening researching Vincent Soff's personal history, looking for any detail that might reveal his location. Koff had attended Northwestern University from 1987 to 1991, studying business and finance. His senior thesis was about international banking regulations. He spoke fluent Russian, English, and German. More importantly, Koff had dated a girl named Anna Petrov during college. Petro was also from Brighton Beach, daughter of another Russian immigrant household. Chen discovered Anna's current address in Forest Hills, Queens. Wednesday morning, Chen flew to New York to interview Anna Petro, now Anna Petro Martinez, married with 2 kids. Vincent. Anna seemed surprised. I haven't spoken to him since college. Why are you asking? Chen explained about the murders and Kosov's disappearance. Anna became pale and frightened. Vincent was always dangerous. Even in college, he had connections to scary people. I broke up with him because I was afraid. Did he ever contact you after 1999? Anna hesitated. Once about 3 years ago he called me, stated he was doing well living somewhere safe. He wanted to know if I was happy. Did he say where he was living? No specific location, but he mentioned cold weather, white nights. I assumed he meant Russia, maybe St. Petersburg or Moscow. Chen showed Anna recent photos generated by FBI aging software. Would you recognize him if you saw him now? Anna studied the images. Maybe. Vincent was very good at changing his appearance. Different haircuts, glasses, clothing styles. But his eyes never changed. Very cold, calculating eyes. Chen left Anna her business card. If he contacts you again, please call immediately. Flying back to Chicago, Chen reviewed what she knew. Koff was probably in Russia, possibly St. Petersburg. He had access to money through his uncle's organization. He was intelligent, careful, and dangerous. But Chen had one advantage Kosoff didn't know about. Frank Morrison had kept detailed records of everything, including names and descriptions of other people involved in the twins' homicide. According to Morrison's notes, 3 Russians had helped Kosoff torture and kill Laura and Joshua Thornton. Their names were Boris Petro, Evan Vulov, and Alexei Sokolov. Chen ran background checks on all 3 men. Boris Petrov had died in a car bombing in 2002. Even Vulov, Dmitri's son, was serving time in federal prison for racketeering. Alexei Sulov had vanished the same time as Vincent Kosoff. 2 of the killers were dead or imprisoned. That left Koff and Sulov unaccounted for. Chen suspected they had fled to Russia together and were still working as partners. She called FBI agent Santos with an update. I need assist tracking 2 Russian nationals who vanished in 1999, Vincent Kosoff and Alexei Sokolov. I'll contact our Moscow office, Santos stated. But Chen, even if we locate them, getting them back to the U.S. for trial will be nearly impossible. Chen understood the challenge, but she refused to let the Thornton twins' killers escape justice. Years was too long already. William Thornton deserved answers, and his kids deserved justice. The international manhunt for Vincent Koff was about to begin. FBI agent Santos called Chen Thursday morning with disturbing information from Moscow. Our sources confirm Vincent Koff is living in St. Petersburg under the name Victor Koff. He's working for Bradford crime families managing money laundering operations. Chen grabbed her notebook. Is he untouchable there? Politically, yes. But we have other options. Koff has been traveling to countries where we do have extradition treaties. Germany, France, Czech Republic. He's expanding his criminal network. So, we wait for him to leave Russia. Santos had a better idea. Actually, we have an opportunity. Koff is planning to attend a business conference in Prague next month. Czech Republic has strong extradition agreements with the U.S. Chen felt hope for the first time in days. Can we get an arrest warrant? Already working on it. Frank Morrison's confession, plus the forensic proof, gives us a solid incident for international warrant. While FBI coordinated with Interpol, Chen focused on building the strongest possible incident against Koftar. She interviewed everyone who had worked at Millennium Mall in 1998, looking for additional witnesses and proof. Radio Shack manager Paul Chen, no relation, had never reported the original robbery because Koff threatened his household. He stated, "If I talked to authorities, my wife and daughter would disappear like those twins. I was terrified." Best Buy assistant manager Linda Williams remembered seeing Koss in the service corridors on December 12th. He was acting unusual, nervous, kept checking his watch, looking around like he was worried about something. Starbucks barista Laura Rodriguez recalled serving coffee to Laura Thornton around 5:15 p.m. She seemed happy, excited about Christmas shopping. She mentioned meeting her brother soon to go home. Each interview added details that corroborated Morrison's confession and established Koff's presence during the critical time period. Chen also discovered that Kosoff had been using his position to run other criminal enterprises. Food court vendor Tony Kim had been forced to pay protection money. Koff stated if I didn't pay, health inspectors would shut me down. He had connections everywhere. Jewelry store owner Emily Gold had similar experiences. Kossoff demanded free merchandise for his girlfriends, stated it was better than dealing with burglary problems. The pattern showed Kossoff was running systematic criminal operations throughout the mall, using intimidation and violence to control victims. Friday afternoon, Chen received unexpected news. William Thornton had hired a private investigation firm with international connections. He wasn't waiting for official extradition procedures. Mr. Thornton ducked. Vigilante justice could compromise our legal incident, Chen warned. Thornton was determined. Detective, my kids were tortured and murdered 7 years ago. I've waited long enough for justice. We have leads on Clove's location. FBI is coordinating with international authorities. How long will that take? Chen couldn't give him a timeline. International extradition could take months or years if it worked at all. I understand your frustration, but please, let us handle this legally. Thornton hung up without promising anything. Chen worried he might take matters into his own hands. That evening, Chen received a call from Prague authorities. Inspector Carol Novak had information about Vincent Koff. Your FBI colleagues contacted us about Koff, Novak stated in accented English. We have been watching him for several months. He is involved with Russian money laundering through Czech banks. Is he currently in Prague? Not yet. But he has reservations at Grand Hotel Bohemia for January 15th, business conference for Eastern European investors. Chen felt excitement building. Will you arrest him when he arrives? We need official extradition request from your government first. Also, Koff is very careful. He may not come if he suspects surveillance. Agent Santos joined a conference call with Prague authorities. Inspector Novak, what can you tell us about Klov's current activities? He operates an investment company that moves money between Russia and Western Europe. Very sophisticated, hard to prove illegal activity. He has protection from Russian embassy. Chen asked, what about his partner, Alexei Sakulov? Novak paused. Sakulov is dead. Killed in Moscow. 6 months ago during gang warfare. Someone shot him outside nightclub. One more murderer eliminated, leaving only Koff alive from the group that murdered the Thornton twins. Santos coordinated with State Department on extradition paperwork. We need everything processed before January 15th. One mistake, and Koff disappears again. Chen spent the weekend preparing proof packages for international prosecutors. Every detail had to be perfect for extradition to succeed. She also researched Prague geography and hotel layouts. If Kossoff suspected a trap, he might try to escape. Czech authorities needed complete information about his background and capabilities. Monday morning brought bad news. William Thornton had left Chicago for Europe. Destination unknown. His private investigators had located Koff and were moving independently. Chen called Thornton's office. His secretary wouldn't provide information about his travel plans. Mr. Thornton left instructions not to discuss his activities with anyone, including authorities. Chen contacted FBI immediately. We have a problem. The victim's father is pursuing Koff privately. This could compromise the entire operation. Santos was concerned. If Thornton interferes with our Prague operation, Koff will disappear forever. Chen tried calling Thornton's cell phone repeatedly. No answer. Tuesday afternoon, Inspector Novak called with alarming news. Detective Chen, we have reports of American private investigators asking questions about Vincent Koff in Prague. This is very dangerous. How dangerous? Kossoff has connections to violent criminals. If he feels threatened, he might kill these investigators or disappear before conference. Chen realized Thornton's vigilante mission could destroy their only chance at justice. She had to find him before he ruined everything. She booked a flight to Prague, leaving Wednesday morning, FBI agent Santos would coordinate from Washington, while Chen handled the situation on the ground. Before leaving Chicago, Chen visited Frank Morrison one final time. He was under residence arrest, cooperating fully with prosecutors. Morrison, if Kossoff escapes because of interference, the twins' deaths will never be avenged. You owe them better than that. Morrison looked destroyed by guilt. Detective, I should have stopped this 7 years ago. Now that businessman might get himself killed, trying to do what I was too scared to do. Chen left for Prague, knowing that everything depended on finding William Thornton before he confronted Vincent Koff. The incident that began with a security guard finding hidden proof was now an international manhunt with life or demise stakes. The final confrontation between a grieving father and his kids' murderer was about to unfold in the streets of Prague. Chen landed at Prague airport Wednesday evening and immediately contacted Inspector Novak. The Czech authorities had located 3 American private investigators working for William Thornton. They were conducting surveillance near Klav's expected hotel. Your Mr. Thornton arrived this morning, Novak stated as they drove through Prague's historic district. He is staying at Hotel Augustin, 5 blocks from Grand Hotel Bohemia. Have you approached him? Not yet. We are hoping you can convince him to cooperate with official investigation. Chen studied photos of Vincent Koff taken by Prague surveillance teams. He looked older than his 40 years. Gray hair, thick glasses, expensive clothing, still recognizable from his 1998 mall identification photograph. When does he arrive at Grand Hotel Bohemia? Tomorrow afternoon. Conference begins Friday morning. Chen needed to reach Thornton before he made contact with Koss. She went directly to Hotel Augustin and asked for his chamber number. I'm sorry we cannot provide guest information, the desk clerk stated. Chen showed her Chicago PD badge. This is an official authorities matter involving American citizens. The clear consulted with his manager, who agreed to call Thornton's chamber. After several minutes, Thornton came down to the lobby. He looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted, wearing wrinkled clothes. Years of grief had aged him beyond his 65 years. Detective Chen, what are you doing in Prague, trying to prevent you from destroying our investigation? We have legal extradition in progress. Thornton's jaw was set with determination. Legal processes failed my kids for 7 years. I'm not waiting any longer. They sat in the hotel bar where Chen explained the official operation, FBI coordination, Czech authorities cooperation, international warrants. Everything was in place for Kozlov's arrest. Mr. Thornton, if you confront Klav directly, he'll disappear again. This might be our only chance. Detective, that animal tortured my kids for hours before killing them. He's been living free in luxury, while Laura and Joshua rotted in a basement grave. I don't care about legal procedures anymore. Chen understood his rage, but had to make him see reason. What about your wife, your daughter? Do they want you to get yourself killed pursuing revenge? Thornton's voice broke. My wife died 2 years ago. Cancer. The stress of losing Laura and Joshua destroyed her immune system. My surviving daughter blames me for not finding the truth sooner. Chen felt the weight of Thornton's loss. His entire household had been destroyed by the murders. Assist us. Arrest Koss legally. Testify at his trial. Make sure he spends the rest of his life in prison. Thornton shook his head. Prison isn't enough. He needs to suffer like my kids suffered. Inspector Novak joined them at the bar. Mr. Thornton, I have kids too. I understand your feelings. But if you kill Koff, you become criminal yourself. I don't care. Novak tried a different approach. Czech Republic has very harsh prisons. If we convict Klav here for money laundering, he serves 20 years before extradition to America. Long time for man his age, Chen added. Then he faces life sentence in American prison for double homicide. He'll never be free again. Thornton considered this. What if he escapes? What if lawyers find technicalities? Chen showed him Morrison's confession and forensic proof. We have overwhelming proof. His uncle can't protect him anymore. Dmitry Vulov is under federal investigation himself. Novak received a radio call. Klav just checked into Grand Hotel Bohemia. He is in chamber 412. Chen felt tension building. Is surveillance in place? Yes, but we cannot arrest until he commits crime on Czech soil or official extradition arrives. Thornton stood up. I'm going to that hotel. Chen grabbed his arm. Mr. Thornton, please give us 24 hours to execute the legal arrest. No, I've waited 7 years. I'm ending this tonight. Novak tried to detain Thornton, but he wasn't under arrest. Prague authorities had no authority to hold American citizens without charges. Thornton left the hotel and vanished into Prague's narrow streets. Chen and Novak followed, but lost him in the maze of medieval alleys. We need to warn Koff, Chen stated. Novak disagreed. If we approach Koff directly, he will know about surveillance. Better to watch hotel and intercept Thornton. They positioned plainclothes officers around Grand Hotel Bohemia, while Chen tried calling Thornton's cell phone. No answer. At 11 p.m., hotel security reported a disturbance on the 4th floor. American man demanding access to chamber 412. Security was escorting him away from the premises. Chen and Novak rushed to the hotel. Thornton was in the lobby, arguing with security guards and hotel management. Mr. Thornton, you need to come with us, Chen stated. I know he's here. Chamber 412. The bastard who killed my kids is sleeping peacefully 4 floors above us. Hotel manager was apologetic, but firm. This gentleman cannot threaten our guests. Please remove him, or we call Prague authorities. Novak intervened. We are Prague authorities. This is resolved. They escorted Thornton outside, but he refused to return to his hotel. I'm staying here all night. When Koss comes out, I'll be waiting. Chen realized Thornton was beyond reason. Grief and rage had consumed his judgment. She needed a different strategy. Mr. Thornton, if you're determined to confront Koff, let's do it right, with backup, with proof, with witnesses. What do you mean? Chen outlined a plan. Tomorrow morning, we approach Koff together, present him with proof, offer him choice between cooperation and extradition. He won't cooperate, probably not. But when he refuses, you'll see his true character. No humanity, no remorse. That might give you the closure you need. Novak was skeptical. This is very irregular procedure. Chen knew it was risky, but Thornton wouldn't be dissuaded from confronting Koff. Better to control the situation than let him act alone. Inspector, we can't stop Mr. Thornton from approaching Koff in a public place. At least this way, we can monitor the interaction. Thornton agreed to wait until morning. But detective, if Koff shows no remorse for what he did to Laura and Joshua, I'm not responsible for my actions. Chen spent the night at Prague authorities' headquarters, coordinating with FBI and reviewing contingency plans. By dawn, she had authorization for Kozlov's immediate arrest if he made any admission of guilt. The confrontation between William Thornton and his kids' murderer was set for 10 a.m. in the Grand Hotel Bohemia lobby. Years after Laura and Joshua's homicide, justice was finally within reach. But Chen feared the meeting might end in violence that would destroy everyone involved. Thursday morning, Chen and Inspector Novak positioned plainclothes officers throughout Grand Hotel Bohemia's lobby. William Thornton sat in a leather chair facing the elevators, wearing a dark suit and carrying a briefcase containing photographs of his kids. At 9:47 a.m., Vincent Koff emerged from the elevator. He looked prosperous and confident. Expensive suit, gold watch, Italian leather shoes. the successful businessman facade hiding a cold-blooded murderer. Koff approached the concierge desk to arrange transportation. Thornton stood up and walked directly toward him. Vincent Kossoff. Thornton's voice was steady but filled with rage. Koff turned around immediately. Weary, his eyes darted around the lobby, assessing potential threats. "I think you have me confused with someone else," Kossoff stated with slight Russian accent. Thornton opened his briefcase and pulled out photographs. "My name is William Thornton. These are my kids, Laura and Joshua. You murdered them 7 years ago." Klav began to walk away, but Thornton blocked his path. "You tortured them for hours in that mall storage chamber. Then you buried them like garbage and vanished to Russia." Other hotel guests were staring. Koff realized he was trapped in a public confrontation. "Sir, I have never seen you or your kids before. You are mistaken." Chen moved closer, ready to intervene if necessary. Novak's officers were positioned at all exits. Thornton held up crime scene photographs. "We discovered their bodies buried under concrete." "You poured. We have your accomplice's confession. We know everything." Klav's composure cracked slightly. "I don't know what you're talking about. Frank Morrison informed us how you threatened his household to keep him silent, how you kept my kids' bodies in a freezer for 2 years before burying them." "Morrison is lying. He probably killed your kids himself and is blaming me." Thornton's face flushed with anger. "You killed them because they witnessed your robbery operation." Joshua recognized Tommy Benedetto from high school. Koff stepped backward. "This conversation is over." "No, it's not." Thornton pulled out autopsy photographs. "Look at what you did to them. Multiple skull fractures, broken ribs, defensive wounds. They fought for their lives while you tortured them." Klav glanced at the photographs, and his mask slipped completely. For just a moment, Chen saw cold satisfaction in his eyes. "Your kids should have minded their own business," Koff stated quietly. The admission electrified everyone listening. Chen signaled Novak's officers to close in. Thornton lunged forward, grabbing Koff by the throat. "You bastard. They were just kids shopping for Christmas presents." Hotel security rushed toward them, but Novak's officers intervened first. They separated Thornton and Koff, while Chen approached with official documentation. "Vincent Koff, you're under arrest for the murders of Laura and Joshua Thornton," Chen announced. Klav tried to claim diplomatic immunity. "I am Russian citizen. You have no authority. Inspector Novak produced check arrest warrant." "You are charged with money laundering through Czech banks. That gives us jurisdiction." As officers handcuffed Kaz V, he looked directly at Thornton. "Your kids cried for their daddy. They begged me to let them call you. I informed them Daddy wasn't coming to save them." Thornton broke free from restraining officers and punched Koff in the face, breaking his nose. Blood splattered across the marble floor. "Mr. Thornton, stop!" Chen shouted. Hotel guests were screaming and running toward exits. Prague authorities formed a protective circle while paramedics treated Klav's injuries. Klav spat blood and smiled. "I should have killed you too, old man. Your whole household." Thornton tried to attack again, but Chen and 3 officers restrained him. "He's not worth it," Chen stated. "You got him. Your kids have justice now." As paramedics loaded Koss onto a stretcher, he made one final taunt. "There are others you don't know about. Your kids weren't the first." Chen felt ice in her veins. "What others?" Koff lost consciousness from blood loss before answering. At Prague authorities' headquarters, Chen interviewed Koff after he received medical treatment. With his lawyer present, Koff refused to answer questions about additional victims. "My client admits nothing about American murders." The Russian lawyer stated he was arrested for financial crimes only. Chen pressed harder. You mentioned others. How many people did you kill? Koff stared at her with dead eyes. Prove it. Inspector Novak had better luck with financial records. Czech banks provided proof of systematic money laundering dating back to 2000. We have him for minimum 20 years in Czech prison, Novak informed Chen. Then extradition to America for homicide charges. Chen called FBI agent Santos with updates. Koff is contained, but he hinted at additional victims. We need to investigate everyone who vanished from that mall region between 1995 and 1999. Already began. We're reviewing all missing persons cases in Chicago during that period. That evening, Chen sat with William Thornton in a Prague authorities station waiting chamber. He was exhausted, but seemed more peaceful than she had seen him. Did you get what you needed? Chen asked. Thornton nodded slowly. I saw his eyes when he looked at those autopsy photos. No remorse, no humanity, just satisfaction at the suffering he caused. Does that assist with closure? It confirms he's exactly the monster I believed he was. My kids died at the hands of pure evil. Chen reviewed her notes from the day. K's admission about other victims suggested Laura and Joshua Thornton weren't isolated cases. Mr. Thornton, this investigation might uncover other families who lost kids. Are you prepared for that? Thornton was silent for several minutes. Detective, if that maniac hurt other families the way he hurt mine, then every parent deserves to know the truth. Chen's phone rang. Agent Santos, calling from Chicago. Chen, we discovered something. Missing persons report from 1997. 2 college students vanished from Millennium Mall, Thomas and Emily Rodriguez, both 21, University of Illinois students. Chen felt sick. Same pattern as the Thornton twins. Identical. They were Christmas shopping, never came home. Incident went cold after 6 months. Chen realized they had discovered a serial murderer. Vincent Kosoff hadn't just murdered Laura and Joshua Thornton. He had been hunting victims at Millennium Mall for years. The incident was about to expand, far beyond 2 murdered twins. Chen was investigating a killing spree that might have claimed dozens of lives. Chen returned to Chicago Friday evening, while Vincent Klov remained in Czech custody, awaiting extradition hearings. She immediately met with FBI agent Santos to review the Rodriguez incident files. Thomas and Emily Rodriguez vanished December 20th, 1997. Santos stated 1 year before the Thornton twins. Same mall, same circumstances. Chen studied the missing persons reports. Any connection to Koff Rodriguez household, hired private investigator in 1998. He interviewed mall employees, identified Koff as person of interest. The investigator died in a car accident 3 months afterward. Another convenient demise. Santos opened additional files. We discovered 6 more suspicious disappearances connected to Millennium Mall between 1995 and 1999. All young adults, all during holiday shopping periods. Chen reviewed the names: Lisa and Ethan Kim, December 1995. Jennifer Walsh, December 1996. Thomas and Emily Rodriguez, December 1997. Laura and Joshua Thornton, December 1998. Amanda Chen, December 1999. All Asian or mixed race victims except the Thorntons. Chen noted. Santos had a theory. Koff was targeting specific demographics, young adults with wealthy families who could afford large ransom payments. But no ransom demands were ever made because the crimes escalated. What began as kidnapping for money became torture and homicide for psychological satisfaction. Chen called William Thornton with the devastating news. Mr. Thornton, we believe Laura and Joshua were part of a larger pattern. At least 8 other young people vanished from that mall. Thornton was silent for a long moment. My God, how many families have been suffering like mine? We're contacting all the families now. They deserve to know what happened to their kids. Chen spent Saturday interviewing families of the missing victims. The pain was identical in every household. Years of false hope, Private investigators, media appeals, gradual acceptance that their kids were probably dead. Lisa Kim's parents had divorced 2 years after her disappearance. Ethan Kim's father had committed suicide in 2001. Jennifer Walsh's mother was in psychiatric care. "Detective, are you saying our daughter was murdered by the same man who killed the Thornton twins?" asked Robert Kim. Chen nodded. "We believe Vincent Koff was responsible for multiple disappearances. He's currently in custody in Prague." Emily Rodriguez's brother, Miguel, was furious. "We tried to tell authorities our sister didn't just run away. She was planning to get engaged to her boyfriend. She wouldn't have left without telling anyone." Each household provided additional details that supported the serial murderer theory. All victims were responsible young adults with strong household connections. None had reasons to disappear voluntarily. Chen organized a meeting with all affected families for Sunday evening. 8 families gathered at Chicago authorities' headquarters to learn the truth about their missing kids. William Thornton addressed the group. "I know what you've all been through. Years of wondering, hoping, blaming yourselves. I want you to know you're not alone anymore." Chen presented the proof linking all disappearances to Vincent Koff and his criminal operation at Millennium Mall. "We believe your kids witnessed illegal activities and were killed to prevent them from reporting what they saw." Robert Kim asked the question everyone was thinking: are our kids buried at the mall too? Chen had to be honest. "We don't know yet. We are conducting expanded searches of the entire mall complex." FBI had obtained warrants to excavate multiple areas of Millennium Mall. Ground-penetrating radar detected anomalies throughout the basement and sub-levels. This investigation could take months, Santos warned the families. "We are treating the entire mall as a potential crime scene." Monday morning, Chen returned to Millennium Mall with forensics teams and excavation equipment. They began with areas adjacent to where the Thornton twins were discovered. Dr. Harper supervised the expanded investigation. If Koss was disposing of bodies regularly, he would have established patterns, consistent locations, similar burial methods. The first additional remains were discovered Tuesday afternoon. 2 skeletons buried side by side in a storage chamber that had been sealed during 1998 renovations. Dr. Harper made preliminary identifications based on personal effects. These appear to be Thomas and Emily Rodriguez, male and female, early 20s clothing consistent with 1997 timeframe. Chen called the Rodriguez household with the tragic news. "We discovered Thomas and Emily. I'm very sorry." Elena Rodriguez broke down completely. "My babies, they've been there all along, so close to home." Excavation continued throughout the week. Each day brought new discoveries. Lisa and Ethan Kim were discovered in another sealed storage region. Jennifer Walsh was buried alone near the loading dock. Amanda Chen, the final victim from December 1999, was discovered in a different location. Her remains showed she had been killed differently. Single gunshot to the head rather than blunt force trauma. Dr. Harper analyzed the pattern. Kossoff's methods evolved over time. Early victims were beaten to demise, suggesting rage or panic. Afterward, victims were executed more efficiently. Chen realized they were looking at the development of a serial murderer methodology. Koff had become more sophisticated and ruthless over the 4-year killing spree. By Friday, forensics teams had recovered remains of all 8 missing victims. Every household finally had answers about their kids' fate. Chen coordinated with Prague authorities on additional charges against Koff. "We now have proof for 8 murders, not just 2. Inspector Novak was impressed by the scope of the crimes. "This man is monster. Czech Republic will not release him easily." Agent Santos worked with prosecutors to ensure maximum sentences. Between Czech money, laundering charges, and American homicide charges, Koff will never see freedom again. But Chen needed one more piece of information. She flew back to Prague to interview Koff about his motives and methods. At Prague authorities' headquarters, Klov's Russian lawyer tried to prevent the interview. My client has nothing to say about American charges. Chen placed crime scene photographs on the table anyway. Vincent, we discovered all of them. Thomas and Emily Rodriguez, Lisa and Ethan Kim, Jennifer Walsh, Amanda Chen. 8 young people whose only crime was shopping at the wrong mall. Koff studied the photographs with cold interest. You've been busy, Detective. Why did you kill them? Koff leaned back in his chair. Business is business. Sometimes complications arise that require permanent solutions. They were just kids. They weren't threats to your operation. Everyone is potential threat. American kids especially. They think they are entitled to everything, protected by wealthy parents and lawyers. Chen felt disgust at his casual attitude toward homicide. What about their families? 8 families destroyed by your actions. Klov shrugged. Families recover. Life continues. Vani solves most problems. Not this problem. You're facing 8 homicide charges in America, plus 20 years in Czech prison. For the first time, Kloof showed genuine concern. Czech Republic will not extradite me to demise penalty. Chen smiled coldly. Illinois doesn't have demise penalty anymore. You'll spend the rest of your life in American supermax prison. Hours per day in isolation. No luxuries, no privileges, no hope. Goss's composure finally cracked. He had expected to serve comfortable time in European prison before eventual release. American supermax meant living demise. Perhaps we can discuss cooperation, Koff stated quietly. Chen had been waiting for this moment. Tell me about other crimes, other victims, other locations. Koff looked at his lawyer, who nodded reluctantly. There may be additional cases in other cities, similar business complications requiring similar solutions. Chen felt sick. The Millennium Mall murders were just the beginning. Vincent Kazaf had been killing young people across multiple states for years. The incident that began with 2 missing twins had uncovered a nationwide serial killing operation. Chen realized she was investigating one of the most prolific killers in American history. Chen contacted FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit to coordinate a nationwide investigation into Vincent Klov's killing spree. Agent Maria Santos led a team of serial crime specialists reviewing similar disappearances across the United States. We're looking at shopping malls where Koff had business connections between 1995 and 1999. Santos explained his uncle Dmitry Volkov owned properties in 12 cities. Chen studied the map showing Volkov household investments: Detroit, Cleveland, Minneapolis, St. Louis, Denver, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Miami. Cities, potentially dozens of victims. Chen stated Santos had already contacted authorities departments in all 12 cities. We're requesting reviews of all missing persons cases involving young adults who vanished from shopping centers during that time frame. Results came back quickly. Every city reported similar patterns. Responsible young adults who vanished during holiday shopping periods, cases that went cold after extensive investigations. Detroit reported 4 missing persons matching the profile. Cleveland had 6. Minneapolis discovered 3 cases with identical circumstances. We're looking at potential corpse count of 50 to 60 victims. Santos informed Chen felt overwhelmed by the scope. How could one man kill so many people without detection? Kosov was sophisticated, well-connected, and operated across multiple jurisdictions. Local authorities departments weren't sharing information effectively in the 1990s. Agent Santos organized a task force with representatives from all affected cities. The meeting was scheduled for Monday at FBI headquarters in Quantico, Virginia. Chen flew to Virginia Sunday evening. She brought complete files on the Millennium Mall incident, including Kosov's partial confession about other complications in other cities. Monday morning, Chen joined 23 investigators from 12 cities. The conference chamber walls were covered with photographs of missing young adults, dozens of faces representing shattered families across America. FBI profiler Dr. James Patterson analyzed Kozlov's psychology. We're dealing with an organized murderer who used legitimate business as cover for predatory behavior. He selected victims based on vulnerability and opportunity. Detective Mike Torres from Detroit had investigated similar cases. Our victims were all college students or young professionals. Upper middle-class families would be missed quickly, but not connected to criminal activity. Seattle investigator Lisa Wong added details. 3 of our victims were siblings, or couples just like Chicago. Klov seemed to prefer multiple victims from same families. Chen realized the pattern was consistent across all cities. He was targeting household units to maximize psychological damage. Dr. Patterson explained the murderer's evolution. Koff began with financial crimes, but discovered he enjoyed the power and control that came with homicide. The killing became the primary motivation, with robbery as secondary benefit. Agent Santos presented forensic proof linking cases across multiple states. We discovered similar burial methods, identical plastic wrapping, consistent time frames during holiday seasons. Chen studied reports from other cities. The details were horrifyingly familiar. Young adults disappearing during Christmas shopping. Families devastated by lack of answers. Cases going cold after extensive investigations. Miami detective Carlos Ruiz had the most disturbing information. We discovered proof Kos was selling some victims to human trafficking networks before killing became his primary focus. How many victims survived trafficking? Chen asked. Ruiz shook his head. Unknown. The networks he worked with specialized in Eastern European sex trade. Victims rarely survive long enough to be rescued. Dr. Patterson estimated the total scope. Based on available proof, we believe Vincent Klov was responsible for between 40 and 70 deaths across 12 states over a 5-year period. Chen felt sick. Laura and Joshua Thornton were just 2 victims in a massive killing spree that destroyed dozens of families. Tuesday, the task force began coordinating excavations at shopping centers in all 12 cities. Ground-penetrating radar teams were deployed to investigation for burial sites, similar to those discovered at Millennium Mall. Chen returned to Chicago Wednesday evening to update William Thornton. The investigation has expanded nationwide. We believe Kloof killed dozens of young people. Thornton was devastated by the scope. How many families have been living with the same pain we've endured? Too many. But at least now they'll have answers. Chen also met with other Millennium Mall victim families. The Rodriguez parents were planning memorial services for Thomas and Emily. The Kim household was establishing a scholarship fund in Lisa and Ethan's memory. Detective, we want to assist other families. Elena Rodriguez stated, no parent should suffer 7 years of uncertainty like we did. Chen coordinated support networks connecting families from all affected cities. Parents who had lost kids to Kosovo's killing spree were finding comfort in shared experiences. Thursday morning brought news from Prague. Vincent Koff had agreed to full cooperation in exchange for life imprisonment, rather than potential demise penalty in certain states. Chen flew back to Prague for comprehensive interviews with Koff. With his lawyer present, he provided detailed confessions about crimes in all 12 cities. I will tell you everything, Koff stated, locations, methods, accomplices, but I want guarantees about sentencing. Chen worked with prosecutors to formalize plea agreements. Full cooperation means complete truth about every victim, every crime, every location. Kloof spent 3 days providing information. He drew maps showing burial sites named accomplices, described methods used in different cities. The level of detail was both comprehensive and horrifying. Detroit, November 1995. Shopping center basement. 3 victims buried in loading dock region. Cleveland, December 1996. Parking garage, several bodies in sealed maintenance chamber. Each revelation meant more families would finally learn the fate of their missing kids. Chen realized the interviews were therapeutic for some families, but devastating for others. Parents who had maintained hope for years were confronting the reality that their kids had been tortured and murdered. Friday evening, Chen called William Thornton with updates. Kloof has confessed to 53 murders across 12 states. Excavations are confirming burial locations. Thornton was silent for several minutes. Detective Laura and Joshua were just 2 names on a very long list, but they led us to all the others. Without your persistence, dozens of families would never have learned the truth. Chen prepared for months of additional investigation. Each burial site would require forensic examination, victim identification, household notification. The incident had grown from missing twins to the largest serial homicide investigation in FBI history. Vincent Kosoff would spend the rest of his life in American Supermax prison, but his crimes had destroyed hundreds of lives across multiple generations. The full impact would take years to understand completely. Months afterward, Vincent Kosoff stood in federal court in Chicago, facing 53 counts of first-degree homicide. The courtroom was packed with household members of victims from 12 cities. William Thornton sat in the front row, representing all parents who had lost kids to Kosoff's killing spree. Judge Patricia Martinez reviewed the plea agreement. Mr. Koff, you are pleading guilty to 53 counts of homicide in the first degree, with additional charges of kidnapping, torture, and racketeering. Do you understand these charges? Koff, wearing prison orange and shackles, answered quietly, "Yes, Your Honor." Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you are waiving your right to trial and accepting life imprisonment without possibility of parole? Yes, Your Honor. Prosecutor Ethan Chen, no relation to Detective Chen, presented the scope of Koff's crimes. Your Honor, this defendant conducted a 5-year killing spree across 12 states, murdering young adults whose only crime was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The prosecutor displayed photographs of all 53 victims. Laura and Joshua Thornton's senior portraits were prominently featured. The defendant tortured these victims before killing them, then buried their bodies in shopping center basement across America. Families suffered years of uncertainty, while the defendant lived comfortably in Russia. Defense attorney Thomas Roberts attempted to explain Klov's actions. Your Honor, my client was involved with organized crime from a young age. He was following orders from criminal superiors, Judge Martinez interrupted. Mr. Roberts, your client has confessed to personally torturing and murdering 53 people. No criminal organization ordered him to commit these specific acts. Detective Chen testified about the investigation that began with Tommy Rodriguez finding hidden proof at Millennium Mall. Your Honor, the defendant's crimes went undetected for years because he operated across multiple jurisdictions and had protection from corrupt officials. Only the discovery of the Thornton twins remains led to exposure of the full scope. William Thornton addressed the court during victim impact statements. Your Honor, Vincent Kosoff didn't just kill my kids. He tortured them for hours before demise, kept their bodies in a freezer for 2 years, then buried them like garbage. Thornton's voice broke as he continued. But Laura and Joshua's homicide led to justice for 51 other victims. Their deaths weren't meaningless if they helped save other families from this uncertainty. Household members from all 12 cities spoke about their losses. Elela Nena Rodriguez described 7 years of false hope. Robert Kim talked about his son Ethan's dreams of becoming a doctor. Jennifer Walsh's mother spoke about her daughter's plans to teach elementary school. Each testimony added weight to the magnitude of Kosov's crimes. Dozens of young lives cut short, hundreds of household members devastated, entire communities traumatized by the scope of the killing spree. FBI agent Santos presented proof of the nationwide investigation. Your Honor, we recovered remains from burial sites in all 12 cities. Forensic analysis confirmed the defendant's confessions were accurate. Dr. Elizabeth Harper testified about the torture proof. Your Honor, autopsy results show these victims suffered extensively before demise. The defendant prolonged their agony deliberately. When all testimony concluded, Judge Martinez addressed Koff directly. Mr. Koff, you have confessed to crimes that represent pure evil. You targeted innocent young people and subjected them to unimaginable suffering. Do you have any statement before sentencing? Koff stood up. I accept responsibility for my actions. I cannot undo the harm I caused. Judge Martinez pronounced sentence. Vincent Koff, I sentence you to life imprisonment without possibility of parole on each count of homicide. Sentences to run consecutively. You will spend the remainder of your life in federal supermax prison. The courtroom erupted in applause from household members. Justice had finally been served, though it could never restore the lost lives. Outside the courthouse, Detective Chen spoke to media about the investigation. This incident demonstrates the importance of never giving up on missing persons cases. Technology and interagency cooperation helped us solve crimes that seemed impossible. William Thornton established the Laura and Joshua Thornton Foundation to support families of missing persons. The foundation provided resources for private investigators, forensic analysis, and household counseling. Detective Chen gave us the truth about our kids, Thornton stated. Now, we want to assist other families find their own answers. Months after sentencing, Chen visited ADX Florence Supermax Prison in Colorado, where Koss was serving his sentence. He was confined to a 712 FT cell for 23 hours daily, with no human contact. Any regrets about your confession? Chen asked through reinforced glass. Koff looked older and defeated. I informed the truth because those families deserve to know. That doesn't make me less guilty. Do you think about the victims? Every day I see their faces, hear their voices. Prison is easier than living with those memories. Chen left the prison satisfied that justice had been served. Koff would spend his remaining years in isolation, haunted by the suffering he had caused. The Millennium Mall was eventually demolished and replaced with a memorial park. Trees were planted, each with a plaque honoring one of Koff's victims. Laura and Joshua Thornton's trees stood together in the center of the memorial. On the 10th anniversary of the twins' disappearance, Chen attended the memorial dedication ceremony. William Thornton, now in his 70s, spoke to hundreds of attendees. Laura and Joshua would be 32 years old today. They would probably have kids of their own. Vincent Koss stole those futures from them and from all the other victims. But their deaths led to justice for 51 other families. That gives meaning to their sacrifice. Chen reflected on the incident that had consumed 3 years of her career. The investigation began with the security guard finding hidden proof and ended with the conviction of one of America's most prolific serial killers. Tommy Rodriguez, the guard who discovered the original proof, was honored at the ceremony. I just did my job, he stated, but I'm glad it helped bring justice to all these families. Dr. Harper completed forensic analysis on all 53 victims. Her research contributed to advances in cold incident investigation techniques and victim identification methods. Frank Morrison served 3 years in federal prison for obstruction of justice. Upon release, he volunteered with the Thornton Foundation, helping other families' investigation for missing relatives. "I can't undo my cowardice," Morrison informed Chen. "But I can try to prevent other families from suffering like the Thorntons did." The incident changed Chen's career trajectory. She became a specialist in cold incident investigations and missing persons, eventually leading the FBI's cold incident unit. "The Kossoff investigation taught me that no incident is ever truly cold," Chen stated. "Technology advances, witnesses come forward, proof is discovered. We can never stop looking for answers." 5 years after Klov's conviction, Chen received a call from Prague authorities. Vincent Kossoff had died in his Colorado prison cell, apparently from natural causes, at age 57. Chen called William Thornton with the news. "He's gone, Mr. Thornton. Kof died in prison." Thornton was silent for a moment. "I don't feel satisfaction, Detective. I feel empty. His demise doesn't bring Laura and Joshua back, but he can never hurt anyone else's kids. That's something, I suppose." Chen attended Klov's burial in an unmarked grave at the prison cemetery. No household members claimed his corpse. He died alone and forgotten, the opposite of his victims, who were remembered and honored. The Millennium Mall incident became a landmark in serial crime investigation. FBI training program studied the multi-jurisdictional cooperation that led to Kozlov's capture and conviction. Detective Chen retired from Chicago PD in 2015, 20 years after the incident began. Her final report concluded, "The investigation of Vincent Klov's crimes demonstrates that justice may be delayed, but it need never be denied. Every victim deserves to be discovered. Every household deserves answers. And every murderer will eventually face consequences for their actions." William Thornton died peacefully in 2018 at age 81. His obituary mentioned the Thornton Foundation's work, helping hundreds of families locate missing relatives. Laura and Joshua's legacy lived on through the lives they helped save. On a snowy December morning in 2020, Chen visited the Memorial Park, where Millennium Mall once stood. The 53 trees had grown tall and strong, their branches reaching toward the sky, like the hopes and dreams of the young people they honored. Chen stood quietly before Laura and Joshua Thornton's memorial trees, remembering 2 bright young people whose tragic deaths had led to justice for so many others. Their story would never be forgotten, and their sacrifice had meaning that would endure for generations. The incident that began with twins vanishing while Christmas shopping had ended with the largest serial homicide conviction in American history. Evil had been exposed, justice had prevailed, and 53 families finally had the answers they deserved.